Okay, so we actually have one slide left on CPUs. So working so quickly, and then if your CPU is a multi-core processor, that tends to generate a lot of heat. This little chip is working really hard. An excessive heat can damage your processor or can cause it to fail. We don't want that to happen. So in order to prevent overheating, a heat sink and a cooling fan are installed to cool the CPU. Okay? The heat sink actually draws heat away from the processor using a material such as copper or a different type of metal or even ceramic. Okay? So I'll show you here on the picture. This guy right here has all these little wedges. These can be made again of either some sort of metal or a type of ceramic material. Okay, so this sits right on top of your CPU. This is your CPU right here. So you screw this in here, and then on top of that, you'll have your cooling fan. So this fan, combined with the heat sink here, actually draws the heat up, 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 and away from your CPU, thereby cooling it and helping it to continue functioning as we expect it to process. Okay, so every system unit has at least one system fan. And when I'm talking about system units, I'm actually talking about like the tower, you know, that your computer has if you have a desktop, okay, or the inside of your laptop. That's also known as a system unit. It's just the part that houses the main components of your computer. All right. So let's talk about the motherboard. If we were actually seeing each other in person, I would pass around a motherboard for you to get your hands on. I think they're really beautiful. They're these big, intricate circuit boards. Well, not so big, I mean, but they're very cool. Okay. So, this is a picture of a motherboard right here. Okay, if you look closely, I know it's hard to see on this picture. You'll see all the little circuitry going through the motherboard, all the connections, the different slots, your different ports here. Like I told you, here's your heat sink and your cooling fan. Okay, the motherboard is actually the main circuit board that contains the central electronic components of your computer, including the CPU, its memory, and the many circuit boards that help the computer to function. On a desktop, the motherboard is located inside the system unit, which would again be like the tower portion of your desktop. Okay, in a laptop, the system unit is combined with the monitor and the keyboard into a single package. And now we have all-in-ones also that combine the monitor and the system unit into one package. You just have a separate keyboard and mouse. Okay, so that's where you're going to find the motherboard. System unit is the physical case that protects the power supply, protects the motherboard, the CPU, and memory. The motherboard houses the CPU, houses drive controllers and interfaces, expansion slots, data buses, ports and connectors, BIOS, and memory. An expansion board plugs into an expansion slot, like right here, okay, and lets you connect to different devices, okay, things like video and sound cards. Drive controllers and interfaces connect disk drives to the processor, and data buses provide connections for information to flow over wires. So if you get a chance to ever have a look at the motherboard, you're going to see the little wires that are just sort of soldered on here, and that's forming the connections from, you know, CPU to your RAM, from the different ports. So you could kind of see here the little white stuff, okay? It's really hard to explain when I can't show you one in person. The motherboard includes slots for expansion cards, okay, which are just circuit boards that provide additional functionality. So, excuse me, here we have an expansion card, okay. It's sort of slips right in here into this expansion slot that's built onto your motherboard. And you just sort of click it right into place, it locks in, and then it's now connected to the motherboard. If you're installing one of these on, say, your desktop, then you're going to have a port right here, and that's where you'll actually plug a device in. So something like a monitor, maybe you want to have an additional monitor, speakers, sound and video cards, okay. Sound cards provide connection for the speakers and the microphone, and a video card provides your connection for the monitor. So, ports. Well, let me go back this way. Ports are used to connect peripherals to the motherboard. And when I say peripheral, I'm talking about things that are outside of the system unit. Okay. Things like your speakers, things like your monitor, okay? Maybe you want to plug in your flash drive, your thumb drive, whatever you call it, your USB, okay? You plug that right into a USB port. Okay, that's the most common type of port that's used today. Audio ports connect audio peripheral devices, and the Ethernet port connects a system to a network. Ports and connectors connect peripherals to the motherboard. The USB port is a standard port type used to connect all different kinds of devices. An advantage of USB devices is that they are something called hot swappable, and all that means is that they can be plugged in and unplugged without turning off your computer. All right. A USB hub is a device that connects multiple USB devices to a single USB port. So, for example, maybe you only have 2 USB ports on your computer, but you have a lot of things that you need to plug in for whatever reason, okay? I mean, they make all kinds of things that you can plug into your computer. I have a little Christmas tree you can plug into your USB port, and it sits by your computer for if you want to get in the spirit of Christmas. Or little refrigerators. You could plug into your USB port, and it powers up these little fridges, like mini fridges. So you could keep your little can of Coke or whatever you prefer to drink, your bottle of water. They're right next to your computer. So all kinds of unnecessary objects granted, but still, you might want to plug some of these things in. You need more than 2 ports. So you get a hub, and you plug it into one of your ports, okay? And then all of a sudden you have like 5 extra ports, okay, from your hub. And so now you can plug in 5 extra devices that way. So that's pretty handy, okay? So USB stands for Universal Serial Bus. And again, that's the port type most commonly used to connect input and output devices to your computer. This is mainly because of the ready availability of USB-compatible peripherals. USB ports can connect all different kinds of peripherals, like I've just been telling you about. We can also include keyboards, printers, mice, smartphones, your external hard drives, flash drives, digital cameras, all those types of things. You plug them in using your USB port, and they're now connected to your computing device. Okay. The current USB 3.0 standard provides transfer speeds of 4.8 gigabits per second and charges devices faster than its predecessor. Okay. USB 3.1, also called USB-C, provides transfer speeds of 10 gigabits per second. So it's twice as fast as your 3.0. And this is the one that's starting to be used now. This is our newest technology as far as USB ports. Another set of ports on your computer helps you communicate with other computers. A connectivity port can give you access to networks and to the internet. If you want to find a connectivity port, just look for a port resembling a phone jack, but slightly larger. This port is called an Ethernet port. Ethernet ports transfer data at speeds up to 10,000 megabits per second. And you can use an Ethernet port to connect your computer either like to a cable modem, which you usually won't have to do anymore. You can connect it to your router, or just to plug directly into a network. Say if you're here on campus, you see these cords all over the place. You're in a computer lab, they'll usually have an empty space like at the end of the row, and you'll go find the blue or yellow Ethernet cable and then just plug that right into your Ethernet port, and now you have a wired connection to the network, which usually means you're going to have a faster connection. Okay. Other ports on the back and sides of the computer include the audio and video ports. Audio ports are where you connect headphones, microphones, and speakers to the computer. Video port, you need these in order to attach a monitor to your desktop computer, or maybe you want to attach a larger display to a laptop, like have a second monitor. You can do that using video port. Okay. HDMI ports are now the most common video port on computing devices. HDMI stands for High Definition Multimedia Interface, and all this type of port is a compact audio-video interface that allows both high-definition video and uncompressed digital audio to be carried all on one single cable. Okay. All your currently available monitors, DVD players, Blu-ray players, televisions, game consoles, they all are going to have at least one HDMI port. Okay. If I was giving you this lecture in person, usually I stand up there and I connect my laptop to the projector so that you can see these slides while I talk about them. And due to dated technology that you sometimes find on campus, that uses a different kind of port, like called a VGA, and that stands for Video Graphics Array. And so you'll have to find an adapter sometimes so that you can, plug your projector into your laptop, things like that. If not, you might have a problem not having those ports because those ports are older technology. Okay, so if you're looking to add the newest ports to an older computer or to expand the number of ports on it, you can install special expansion cards into an open expansion slot on the motherboard in order to provide those additional ports. So this is what I was telling you. Again, if you're working, this is the easiest way is if you have a desktop with a separate system unit. Okay, you can see here, usually you'll see in the back there's these slots, and they're closed, but you're able to open them up. And once you do this, you can get your expansion card, click it right into the expansion slot on the motherboard, and all of a sudden you're going to now have 2 additional ports. Okay. And then I sort of jumped the gun, but here is an example of your expansion hub. So you plug this guy right into your USB port. That takes up 1 port on your machine. And now all of a sudden you have 4 more ports. Okay, so that's what I was referring to when I was talking about the USB hub. Okay, so you can connect several devices to a port, just like one of those power strips that you get to add additional plug-in space to your wall outlet. That's what how these work.